that passion, please? Can someone reference that passion?
I wish
we're live.
I wish we had emotion but made decisions emotionless as well. Like emotionless decisions, like based off on things.
You're talking about champions. You're talking about Champions League final. Pippo Inzaghi wanted to belt his assistant coach. Is that the one?
Inzaghi was on the field. His assistant ran over to him and is signaling him to get off the field. And he's literally turned around, grabbed the guy by the collar, and pushed him off. Like, that's passion. Jules, did you please tell me you saw it?
I saw it, man, live, in the flesh.
In the flesh.
In your third breakfast break at Coles.
My third dream.
You're in Istanbul, Turkey, yeah, in your ass.
That was in your last year.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I'll give no credit to this side ever. I'll give no respect to this side. John O'Rourke, honorary Blues brother, Will Hayes.
Yes. Mr. Paul Sebastiani, welcome back to the show, mate.
This one game is a build-up of, a year's worth of work.
What did you think of his performance?
And I gave my opinion.
It's an opinion-based podcast, fair enough. Welcome, everyone, to episode 94 of the Almost Blues Brothers podcast, brought to you by Piota Health and Performance, proudly powered by the Blue Broad Podcast Network and YouTube channel. I don't know. Why are we here?
To discuss all things Carlton.
Before I ask you how you are, because we'll go into that in life and whatnot, but why are we still doing this? Just tell me.
Because we're sick
human beings. We just love this footy club a lot, don't we?
Let me get these formalities out of the way. If you're new, welcome to the show. Usually it's not this dour to start, but so be it with the state of our club. And if you're returning, congratulations that you've made it for 94 episodes so far, along with us. Welcome back. What's next to say? If you haven't already, go follow. This is shocking for me. If you haven't already, go follow us on Instagram at Almost Blues Brothers for all our socials content, and on Twitter at Almost Blues Bros. And just quickly before we get into this, I say like and subscribe every week to this video and to the Blue Broad YouTube channel. Big milestone just came up yesterday, boys. Quite ironic that it came up on a day that the Carlton Football Club reached its absolute low. It's a big congratulations to the Blue Broad community, including us, but more so Terry for what he's been able to build. 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. He's finally reached that. And it was at least, it was a big positive to take out of a weekend for us as a community, everyone that's stuck by Blue Broad and tuned in over the years, and for Tez and what he's built. So yeah, it's congratulations to start off. It's probably the only congratulations we're going to do tonight.
It's massive for obviously the channel. I think you could tell, hey, in pre-season, the increase in numbers at the fish and chip shop. Hey, Joe.
Yeah,
massive increase in numbers. So he's started something pretty special, Tez, and obviously with all of us on there, it's going to keep growing with the quality content that we deliver week in, week out.
Unlike the Carlton Football Club.
Yep.
Look, it's been a pleasure to be part of it. We're going to be part of it for a long time going forward, and we hope, while we are a small part of it, that we can, like Dan said, that we can continue to help this grow in the future into something bigger and better. All right, formalities are out of the way.
Cut the bullshit
from that front, boys. We are going to talk footy for an hour, and it's going to get pretty tense. I feel it's going to get pretty. It might get combative tonight. Who knows? If it does, it does. You know what? At least we're combative because we're not seeing it on field at the moment. But before we get there, as I do every week, because we like to uphold the integrity and quality of this podcast, first off, I'll start with Jules. How are you, man?
Good. Just trying to not get the game, let me down. But I've been thinking about it, boys. It's hard not to speak about the game. I know, even before Joe, when we first got in here, you're like, I just want to spend 10 minutes just to have a chat in general and not even speak about footy, but it's hard not to. When it's sort of like our day-to-day thing that we sort of look forward to, obviously the group chats that we've all got We're in about like 2 or 3 or 4 different group chats all related to the Carlton Football Club, and we're speaking about it every day, 24/7. So it's hard not to feel happy knowing what the footy clubs are producing every weekend.
It's fair, and it's true, and we're all feeling it. Dan, anything outside of footy that's brightening your life at the moment?
To summarize what Jules is saying, let's cut the bullshit and talk about this football club.
All right. Well, if that's the case, without any further ado,
Let's get into it.
the Carlton Football Club is in absolute free fall without a parachute at the moment. That's how it feels. It's just an inevitable death of this club. And the death of may have already been and gone, to be honest. But after this weekend, there are simply no kind words to be said about where we're at this point, boys.
But this is the thing. You said it perfectly by saying it's the club. The issue I'm finding is, and I guess it's just what we do as supporters, is try and find a solution as to what's happening. Yeah. And it's like we're trying to pinpoint one thing or another thing or another thing. At the end of the day, it is the club in its entirety. That's plain and simple. This club, 30 years ago, 25 years ago, whatever it was, created a legacy, created a standard around winning, around success. 8 years ago, we started a rebuild, and this is the byproduct of creating a shit culture and a culture that wasn't around winning and losing. This here, what we're seeing right now, is exactly the byproduct of that. That's plain and simple.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, you could even go into, we can't put all the pieces as well all together at the same stage consistently as well. So in terms of, you want to have a look at the first half of last year in terms of on-field, all going well, probably getting through games even with a lot of injuries, and then obviously towards the back half of the end, that sort of became a factor, and obviously it's been out in the media. This season, probably more or much the same beginning of the year, and then now it's form as well on field, and a host of things off field as well, which is more coming into play as the weeks go by, in terms of the clarity around Voss's position. Not really, the club not really backing him up until recently, saying he's going to be there up until the end of 2024. I'd love to see more passion and more stability in and around Voss, and maybe some more question marks much higher up in terms of the Carlton Football Club, which I feel needs to happen.
You both nailed it. There are so many issues with where this club is at the moment, and you just would have thought we want to try and keep this to the review still, right, for now, because we do need to talk about this game, and it's what we do every week. But you just would have thought that this game on Sunday night, marquee matchup again against a traditional rival again. You just would have thought that regardless, because this has always been the story between us and Essendon. Regardless of how bad it's been, both teams always show up. We just do, right? That's the game, and we didn't. Like we didn't even leave the locker room, especially after halftime. I know every week we get our hopes up and we have that's gone now. That is, I'm telling you now, that's completely gone. But the expectation this week was they'll show something for 4 quarters. We are going to get a fight against Essendon this week, regardless of how bad it is. And this is as bad as it's ever been. And they just didn't. And there's no other word for it at this point. There's no other word, if we're going to summarize it, than just disappointing is what this club is.
We arguably did in the first quarter and a bit. Or the first half, we arguably did, in terms of particularly the way we used the ball. I know we can go into the effort, and we probably go into that a little bit later, but we arguably did show up. Maybe not from the get-go, but I would say for most of the first half, we sort of had it on our terms. But obviously after half time, especially the first 10, 15 minutes, it was ridiculous in terms of how, Essendon got on top. We weren't able to arm wrestle it back into our favour, which is sort of coming an example week in, week out. Once another team does get on their terms, they're able to convert pretty freely. And that showed last night.
My point, when have you seen us have a ruthlessness and an innate nature to be able to grind a result back? When have you seen it?
Too long.
When have you seen it? I could name it probably on my hand. The amount of times
this year.
there's been an innate, not this year, zero this year. I'm saying you think about it. Over the last 8 years, when have you seen an innate desire to want to for them to be able to claw back and find something within them to be able to grind a result back?
Yeah, you haven't played the game today, though.
Point. Well, yeah, like the game today, correct? But that's the
game
point,
today.
Dan.
Yeah,
but the point that you made. You said a specific word in that to get a result, because I can name countless times where we fought back, especially last year, and we didn't get a result. We just didn't. They don't know how to close.
But it's not even about Joe. It's not even about closing and just getting a result. Even when we're up by 50 or 30 or 20, we can't put our foot on their throat and bury them. And that all starts from the development. That all starts from the development of 8 years ago. And it's plain and simple to see that the byproduct of a majority of this list, and you know what? We've got some individuals in that list, and we know who they are, that carry us through. But I'm sorry, majority of this fucking playing group have been affected by the development of 8 years ago, and it took away from what the Carlton of old had built, that our grandparents and our parents had seen. And these players here just don't understand and don't have that within them because it wasn't developed with them just from when they first started, when they came through the system of Carlton Football Club.
Brandon Camilleri, the $15 donation. Thank you very much. Love the work, fellas. Nice to see Dan yesterday. As hard as it is, get behind the boys. They don't enjoy these feelings as much as us.
Legend Brandon.
It is. It's hard to.
You have a look at the game today. I mean, I don't think Collingwood sort of. This is probably one of the worst Collingwood performances. And I know we don't really want to talk about Collingwood, but it sort of relates to what I'm speaking about. Collingwood couldn't get the game on their terms today. For majority of it. It was on Melbourne's terms.
Yep.
Melbourne's terms. The majority of the game was on Melbourne's terms. It was physical, repeat entries, similar to the way, obviously, Voss, initially what he said, we were going to play a powerful Brandon footy, contested, clearance Brandon footy, repeat entries. We haven't seen it. My thing is, we did that partially last night for a longer period of time. We just don't stick to our brand and our DNA for long enough. Whether we know what it is or whether the players are aligned in terms of their views is another different story as well, which we can have a conversation about. But that's another issue. But I feel like as if when we stick to what we know, what we're good at, we're a good footballing side. Last night we did it for, again, a quarter and a bit. We didn't do it for long enough, boys. And then obviously, when another team gets on top, we can't arm wrestle it back. It's as simple as that. And they don't believe in it and they lack confidence.
Doing it for a quarter of football is not acceptable.
Agreed.
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to elevate their standards of what they expect and what we need. That's everyone within the club. As a supporter base, as a coaching staff, as a playing group, need to elevate their genuine standards of what they see as acceptable or a pass mark. And until that happens, we will be in the same hole over and over and over again.
I'm not even going to touch on the match report. There's no need. We'll slap by 5 goals, whatever it was. But the one thing from the match report I do want to read out is the crowd attendance for another home game. 83,000 plus at a home game. 90,000 members at this club. 90,000. Someone made a real good point today on socials. The only thing that's improved year on year, the only thing that has improved year on year for the last 8 years is the membership number. That's it. Oh, sorry, and the financials. They got rid of their debt. That's it.
On the back of.
I don't care.
On the back of members. But this is what I'm saying. Dan, this is what I'm saying. That's the only thing that's improved are these numbers. Why? Who knows? If the Carlton Football Club was a business and we all held stock in this business, we bought stock 8 years ago, and that stock dropped from $100 down to $2, we'd all cut our losses at this point. But we don't. So if you want to talk about how this is going to change and setting standards, Dan, right? 4 weeks ago, if I had a set, I couldn't even dream that I was going to say this. If you asked me 4 weeks ago, as a fan base, as a supporter base, the only thing that's going to get through to this club at this point is silence. Silence at the ground. Talk with your feet. Don't go. That's where I'm at. That's what I'll be doing. I know that's what you're going to be doing.
What about membership numbers?
Membership numbers, hey, it is what it is. We paid for it this year. Cancelling it does nothing because that tally still stands. Next year, if you want to, up to you guys. It's up to whoever. This is up to us as fans. A mutiny is membership tally drops significantly.
Would be an issue.
Crowd numbers drop significantly.
Financially, cancelling memberships would be an issue. But they would have budgets, etc., according to their numbers.
All I'm saying is that it's astounding. It is astounding that it hasn't happened to this point. And it would be even more astounding and baffling if the membership numbers increased again next year. It really would at this point. This is beyond anything comprehensible. Anything. Think about it. The only improvement are the membership numbers that we see. Not on-field performance, not flags, not finals. We're fucking bottom 4 in 2023. Bottom 4 still. But we've got 90,000 members backing us. Get fucked. Honestly.
Yeah, it's sickening to hear that.
Now, I'm not going to tell people what to do. I'm not in the business of that. But I know where I stand on this, at least for the rest of this season. I know, Dan, you've said where you stand. Jules, we've all got our opinions on what needs to be done for the rest of the season as a fan. We've been pretty positive on this podcast for the last 4 weeks. I said that we had a 4-game block or a 6-game block, and as long as we were 6-1-6 going into the Suns game, I'd be content. We're 4-1-8. I'm not content. I'm pissed off. And we should all be pissed off with where we're at the moment. Simple. Now, if we want to talk about the game, before we get into the bigger picture, because we are going to talk bigger picture, we are going to talk about where this rot sits, who the accountability is with. We do need to talk about this game that happened on Sunday night. Now, pre-game, I want to say one thing. 32 cups, 16 of them are ours. We haven't won the most recent cup there was Essendon's, and the most recent cup of ours is now 28 years old. I am 28 years old. I couldn't give 2 fucks. The only cup I care about is the next one. As a fan. Now, this isn't about disrespecting history. I understand what this club's built on. I really do. But I've got none of us here. You boys can talk now here, right? Do you have any connection to those premierships whatsoever?
No.
Jules?
I don't care. I'm reading through the comments and how
we respect it.
People are.
We respect the history, I'm sure, right? And I'm sure we've got older viewers that they were able to live through that and experience that and appreciate that. And I get it. I'm happy for you. I really am. And I'm also really, really upset for you because you've seen this. You're the ones that have seen this club actually fall. We've known no different. But this pre-game rubbish of fireworks, cups, cheerleaders, we've got to be kidding ourselves. What have we achieved for any of that?
Yeah.
Number one. Now I'll ask you boys. In terms of, Jules, you already touched on it. First half compared to second, or game as a whole, however you want to approach it. How did you see the game? Where did it go wrong?
Oh, for me, it was pretty obvious. I think when we had our chances, we didn't convert. And I know when Essendon had their chances, they did convert. But my argument is, I still feel like as if they had a longer period of time where they did convert those opportunities. So I feel like as if they were more dominant, and we weren't able to get the game back on our terms. But the way I feel, nor did we try. And I feel like as if that goes down to the effort in which the club the players sort of produced over the 4 quarters, going from, I think, 13 tackles in the first, then 6 in the second, and then 6 in the third, and then 6 in the fourth. And I'd love to speak about some stats very, very shortly about a lot of our leaders as well. You can go into Casano's calcs now if you wish, but don't need the intro. So these are just some leaders, okay, in terms of the input, in terms of tackles on field. And I feel like as if when you are a leader and the game is against you, you need to make sure that you stand up and you do all the 1%ers and all the little things to make sure it all counts, and you sort of lead the way. Even if it's a hip and shoulder, don't care. If it's a spoil, don't care, whatever it is. But those little things need to happen. So I'm just going off tackles here, all right? But this is for the game in its entirety. Cripps, 2 tackles, known as a hard beast. I'm not seeing it. I haven't seen it for a very long time, probably over the course of the last year. To be honest, he's gone missing since his Brownlow night. I know it's a bit harsh, but that's how I see it, and I feel like
reality.
It's a reality. It is. Haven't seen him. Go send out a search party. All right. Then you got Doherty, 1 tackle, leader, past captain. You got Sard, premiership, not premiership, but finals experience, played in finals before. 1 tackle, supposed to be a defender, only laying 1 tackle. Wiedering, vice captain, 1 tackle. McGovern, finals experience, 28 years old, 100th game. So he's had games under his belt, 1 tackle. Mackay, inside forward 50, 1 tackle, known as one of the leaders, especially inside forward 50. Walsh, 0 tackles. Vice captain again. Charlie Curnow, 0 tackles.
This is embarrassing.
Small forwards. Motlop. I know not a leader, but small forward. You're there to put on pressure. Motlop, 0 tackles. Ed Curnow, 0 tackles. You've actually been brought in, tactical decision, to tag Merritt. I know Merritt only had 18, 19 disposals, but what did he do? What did he do with it? All right. Kicked a goal.
Damaging.
Had
Damaging.
6 or 7. He was
Especially in the
damaging.
third.
Especially in the third when the game counted. He was on. Ed Curnow, where were you? All right. And then you can go in terms of the back half as well, in the likes of Kemp and Young. I know they're not leaders. They're still obviously reasonably young. But at the end of the day, 0 tackles. Do you know who had 3 tackles in a quarter of footy?
Well, we know the answer. Yeah.
Paddy Dow.
That's a player that many consider to be soft, quote unquote. Soft player.
No, but his point is
$20. Sorry, Dan, just quickly. $20 donation from Ur. I think that's how you pronounce it. Amazing how quickly Essendon has gone past us. We easily won against them last year, and I do apologize if I got the pronunciation wrong.
But my point is, when the game is on the line, where are our leaders, on-field leaders, standing up when Essendon are on top? They were nowhere last night. And to be fair, they've been nowhere for the last 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, for a very, very long time. So that's my point. They need to start standing up. Our top 6, 8 players need to start standing up.
Dan.
No, I agree with Jules. Where's the on-field leadership? Where, for me as well, I'd like, would you not like to see passion and emotion and from these leaders? Lewis Young had a mare. Would you not want to see some passion from Weeders picking him up and giving him a talking to on the actual field? To honestly, George.
100%. There was one moment. I know it was later in the game. The game probably was done and dusted. Okay, but Lewis Young had all the time in the world to dish. He actually had 2 options to dish the ball. I'm not too sure whether there was chat. I'm hoping there was. Okay, in the lines of man on, etc. But if you're in the D50, you should know that there's going to be heat coming on you. All right. He was dawdling, got pinned for holding the ball. There you go. All right, and I think they scored from it as well. All right. Weeders, and I think it was, who else? Kemp, all the boys got around him, pat on the back, pat on the bum, handshake, whatever it was. Not good enough. We need to set standards, and someone needs to be in his face saying, you know what, not good enough, shouldn't happen. All right, and that's it. Put it to bed.
I told you about standards. I spoke about standards at the start of this pod. And if that's happening from your leaders, that will happen down the rest of the playing group. Okay? Now, the problem with us is also the fact of, obviously, and we actually speak about this every week, scoreboard pressure. We went into halftime 3 goals, 10. Was it 3 goals, 10, Joe?
310,
man?
310,
Yeah,
310.
310. Now, I look at that and you think to yourself again, and we talk so much about confidence, okay? And we talk about if we convert 2 or 3 of those, we were up by 2 points at halftime. Yes?
Yep. But we're
Up
behind
by 2.
2 points. No, we're
By
behind
2
by 2.
points. And we missed 10 chances. But it's where, this is the thing. It's where we're getting those chances as well.
Well, can I interject? Because this
Because
is
4 of those, honestly, Joe, 4 of those was 60 meters out.
I understand. There were a few that you just sort of shook your head at. I get it. Go Dan before I go on.
No, you have to let me
stats here.
finish here.
Yeah,
Because this is where you're looking at someone like Ash Hansen, who have already identified in the fact that that forward line looks so disjointed, it's a joke. Okay. And I'm looking at Charlie Curnow have to pretty much win his own ball and kick from 60 for a scoring opportunity. I looked inside 50 for 2 of his chances, and there was no one in the forward line. Like, what the fuck is going on there?
Yeah. Look, like I said, I think we had a pretty large and also a heated conversation, Joe and I, pre-show in our group chat. And then we were talking about exactly the same thing, Paysan. We're talking about, obviously, yeah, we had certain opportunities in front of goal, but yeah, where were they from? And it's all around our ball movement and our connection inside forward 50.
Can I interject? Because I need to clarify, firstly to Jules, but also to the listeners, what I'm about to say.
Pretty clarify with me.
There's a stat, right? So we're talking about where are our chances, right? And we can't just bring this up without backing it, right? And this is where it gets a little bit frustrating for me at times. And I've got some other games as well to back this up, because we've said this throughout the year, Dan. You have championed this more so than anyone. That's our scoreboard pressure is rubbish, right? Absolutely rubbish. I don't think we've gotten a jump on a team all year, and it's really come down to execution. Is how we felt. Now you've said here, and Jules has said pre-show as well. Where were those chances from? There's a stat, the champion data track. Okay, and a lot of people roll their eyes at champion data, but this is actually a stat that I tend to like, because it's based on pretty significant data from across the entire competition across the season. It's about expected score versus actual. Now, it's not one. I'm not saying it's one on expected score. It's not, but it gives you really good perspective as to how well we've converted. So the first stat is, this isn't from champion. This is our conversion rate of goals based on scoring shots over the last month. We are converting at 28% in front of goal. 28% of our shots become goals. Not even 1 in 3.
From last night's.
No, this is over the last month, Jules, right? 28%,
yep, sorry,
28% goal conversion. Now, this expected score stat is based on, I believe, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure, knowing champion, the way that they measure this is they take a sample size from across the competition, across the whole season, and they look at where goals are scored from and where behinds are scored from, exactly on the park, for set shots and for open play. Actually, potentially, yeah, set shots and open play. So this is purely around that last kick at goal. It's not about how it got there. It's already in that position. You're already there, right? It's about, if this was Geelong, 55 meters out on a 45 versus everyone else, then the probability of that kick is 45%, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do we understand that?
Yeah, but it doesn't take into, does it take into account pressure and whether it's a set shot or in general play?
That I would have to follow up, but I would assume that would still be relative, because you're gonna, in those, like if you're tight on the boundary from open play, you're probably gonna have pressure on you. Do you know what I mean? You're gonna have pressure on the kick more often than not. At a set shot, there's no pressure on the kick. It's a set shot. So I feel like that'd be pretty relative, but something I'm happy to follow up with. All right. No,
He's gone, Jules.
Thank God.
No, I didn't even know where. I didn't even know.
I don't know where he was going with those stats, man.
I'm joking. I think he was trying to prove a point to you, Jules, because I think did you have a little discussion with him in the WhatsApp?
Yeah, had a big discussion with him pre-show. Pre-show was heated. But yeah, look, to be fair, I actually like the stat. I think it needs to be looked at, though, over the course of the whole season. I think it's really important to be able to get an understanding of where the shots were from, because then that will give us an indication on our ball movement and where we are having our shots, whether it's deeper, inside 30, or if it's, inside 50 or outside 50 and so on. Okay. And especially the pressure indicator if it's in general play as well. I think it's really, really important.
Paysan, just quickly, can we just process how good this looks with just me and you?
Yeah, looks like a statue.
Now, listen.
Look at him.
On the game, can I ask you something, Jules? Do you think the first quarter, did you think that we moved the ball with more freedom? That for me, I sat level 4 on purpose. First time this year, I sat level 4 purely to see. And I think you're a big fan of doing that, Jules.
We did exactly the same thing.
Yeah, well, there you go. So I sat level 4 and I wanted to just see things from a different standpoint. And I felt as though we were moving the ball with a lot more freedom. And it didn't seem as though we were second guessing our decision making. Okay. The issue, like I said, for me is the biggest thing was scoreboard pressure. Okay. The other thing was our inability to defend from the front. We let Mason Redmayne, I'm talking A-League, Mason Redman and McGrath walk out of D50. And this isn't the first week, every single week. And this goes into obviously your tackling stat where we're letting teams, Jules, and the shocking thing about all this is that we annihilated them on the inside 50s.
I think it was by 15.
Annihilated them. But the way they can get the ball inside 50 is a lot easier. So their chances are a lot clearer in front of goal. It's evident. I watched Peter Wright kick from 20 meters out for all 5 goals.
Yeah. And that's why I'm talking. We need to know where we're shooting from because of that. Because like I said, I feel like as if their ball movement outside of D50, it was more free, particularly when they were on top. Okay. In saying that, in the third quarter, I feel like as if they did get on top in terms of the contested possessions as well and clearances, particularly center clearances. So I think that sort of helped their game as well. But then off the back of that, they gained confidence in order to be able to use their ball movement as well. In terms of their entries our entries inside forward 50, I don't see a structure there that enables us to keep the ball inside forward 50 as well in terms of, Harry and Charlie sort of being disjointed, okay, and not connected. Sometimes they're both too high. Then we don't have a target inside forward 50. Sometimes, for example, it'll be Charlie and Always, particularly when they're both going towards the ball as well. And both of them, they're undecided and none of them sort of wanted to put their hand up to try and mark the ball as well, which is a good scenario to look at because they actually went from there. Essendon did go from D50 inside forward 50 and did get a shot on the board. I'm pretty sure they scored from that moment as well. I think it's highly important to look at those things.
We need to be, and we'd be blind not to be looking at that forward pressure. But I also am starting to realize, and I think we're not starting to, it's evident every week. There's a massive throughout that midfield as well. And do you think this is coaching? We talk about effort and the tackling side of things, Jules. But I'm telling you right now, do you put that down to coaching or do you put that down to effort? Because every individual player should have a standard within themselves to be able to execute the basic fundamentals of the game, which include tackling and pressure. The structure is coaching, but the actual execution of the skill is from the players themselves.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. But when I look at the center clearances when they were on top, particularly,
I'm talking exiting D50 and how easy Essendon were able to do that. Not clearance work. So
just particularly D50. I mean, I think both comes hand in hand in terms of the structure. Even I think it was early on they were able to exit D50. Then we sort of started to hem them in and press them up, like what Melbourne did today against Collingwood, and they actually really struggled to get their ball movement going. Throughout the whole course of the game, and I think that's highly important. It's one of the things I told Joe that we actually need to look at during the game. And again, I still think it comes down to both, purely because a lot of opposition teams, even us, they try to get an outnumber in your defensive 50 to come across, whether it's a wingman and then the high half forward that you have comes across to become that wingman defensively, and then obviously in offense as well. So I think it is a bit of both in terms of structure, because once the ball hits ground level, you sort of want to be, one-on-one, not one-on-one, but 3-on-3 or 4-on-4, or you want to try outnumber, or at least delay the ball so then you can gain an outnumber at the actual contest as well, to then get a player free, to then get a shot on goal. So for me, it comes down to structure. And then from structure, off the back of that, then it's down to the players to actually input, what they've actually tried to actually work on during the week or in the preseason, etc. For me, it comes down to both. You really, really have to look at each incident in isolation to have a look at and see whether we did have the number, or if it was one-on-one, to see and get a gauge on whether it was one or the other. But I feel it's both. In different incidences, it'd be both.
The other point I want to say, Jules, is here he. Hey, now it's back to angry at the Wi-Fi. Same story. Yeah, you want to apologise to listeners, Joe? We're right without you.
You get it. We're fine, man. It was flowing. Now let's go back to your point, Joe.
What have you spoken about? I'm genuinely ready to blow a gasket tonight. This has killed me. That just killed me. Proper.
Anyway, let's just finish this, Jules. The other thing I want to say is other teams, I feel as though they would just go out there and say, if we know that we can just work harder than Carlton and we'll win the game. If we work harder off the ball, we will win the game. And you saw it with Essendon. They just worked harder. They spread really well off stoppages. And look at whoever Cripps's direct opponent was. It's not very hard to be able to lose him.
Yeah.
And then it creates a spare man across the rest of the field.
Yeah. Even
he's got no two-way running. He cannot run
at all. But then you look at, for example, the likes of Collingwood with Mitchell, and he doesn't either. But it's the other players that they have around him. Josh Dacos, Nick Dacos, Sidebottom, Crisp. They're all movers. Yeah. So, you need to have a balance in there. And I've said it for a long time, that I'll be looking for a player that's a bit more explosive, that can, get out of stoppage with a bit of silk as well. But, whether we have one that's, young, maybe like the Vins, for example, or Cunners, we have those types. It's just whether they can get their body right and, gain some experience and get in the side.
I'll just say, firstly, again, it's on me. Secondly, I backed you in, trusted you. Thirdly, I think either I need to throw this computer to the shit house, or it's a sign that I just need to stop doing this. It's one or the other at this point. But
come on, Joe, we love you.
Based on what I've seen in the chat here, it sounded like you actually took it on very well. So well done, boys. Now, to all the listeners, I do apologize. But to get back on track, and I've missed the last 10 minutes, whatever it is, but just on those expected scores that I was talking about. So it's based on the probability of converting those shots based on all the other teams across the league throughout the year converting those same shots, essentially, right? Now, our expected score, I'm going to go through 4 games here, because 4 games stand out in my mind as when we missed shots that we should have converted, okay? Because we talk about this every week, but we now need data to back this. So the first one is the St Kilda game. Now, if you cast your mind back to St Kilda, there was a period in the third quarter where we had the ascendancy for like the first 10 minutes and we just couldn't convert. They went up the other end, they kicked 2 goals to finish the quarter, and that killed the game. Our expected score on that game would have been 76 points. Our actual score was 60. So that's a differential of minus 16. Okay. Our goal conversion in that game was 33%. Now, I got these stats from Up the Baggers on Twitter as well. So big shout out to him. The Bulldogs game was another one where we had those 4 really bad missed opportunities from set shots. We all remember that, obviously. Yes. Our expected score in that game was 64. We kicked 59. Okay, but the Bulldogs expected score was +9. So this is also where you got to have the perspective of, well, they took chances that maybe they shouldn't have converted. So they coped under the pressure. And this is what you were saying, Jules. What's the pressure gauge? What are the difficulty of some of these shots? None of these games were we a plus differential. The other one, Sydney, Dan, we were there. We watched it first quarter. Yeah. And we were saying we need to be bearing our chances here, and we didn't. We were 2 goals, 6 or something. 2 goals. No. I think it was 2 goals, 6. And they were 7 goals, 2 at one point. Our expected score from that game was 73. Our actual score was 51. Minus 22 differential. Our goal conversion was 27% from scoring shots. And against Essendon, the worst of the lot yet, our actual score, based on the probability of the chances that we should have been converting, based on the probability of where we were getting those shots, our expected score should have been 85. We scored 52. A minus 33 differential and a goal conversion last night of 21%.
You can't be competitive.
Now, I'm not saying that every game comes down to goal kicking, because it doesn't. This is what I clarified with you earlier, Jules. But there's 4 games that stood out to me where if we had have kicked earlier and put the pressure on the other team, that we would have made it very easy for ourselves to keep ourselves in it. Those are the 4. Last night was an absolute indictment on our goal kicking. There's no excuses. The ones from 60 out, no issue. But we had set shot chances, and we had chances in front of goal that we should have buried, that other teams, evidently from this data, bury. We are subpar in goal kicking, and it's costing us. That's 12 to 16 premiership points that it's cost us. We could be 7 or 8 wins and only 4 or 5 losses. Instead, we're 4 wins and 8 losses, and it's a big reason why. Now I'm done. And we can move on. Now, give me a little recap. What did you discuss quickly? I don't want to back over anything.
We spoke about the
pressure,
how easy they were able. How they were able to exit D50.
Yeah, rubbish, absolute rubbish. And 10 players, obviously, like you said, with 0 tackles, Jules, to halftime. 10 players again, and this is, I think, the other week against who was it against? We had 12 players to halftime without a tackle. The Bulldogs. I think it was the Bulldogs game. So it's not the first time, again, this season. So, if you want to talk about moments, we spoke about Lewis Young. I've got some notes here. The other moment that stood out to everyone at the ground that I think we all laughed at because it summed it up. Charlie Curnow and Matt Owies, what are you doing? You want to talk about moving the ball? That was a good passage of play. Kick inside 50, and they both just left it. They both looked at it. Like, we actually moved the ball well. But they couldn't decide between them who was going to take it. So we couldn't even get a set shot in that example when we should have. That's one more to add to the tally.
There's no accountability on the players. There is never, ever accountability placed on the players, though. When have you seen it?
Based on the naked eye, though, just in perspective, over the course of the season, or if you just want to look at the Essendon game, just the one-off game, would you say that teams move the ball more freely than us and more efficiently to the naked eye?
Of course.
Do you think other teams score more easily than what we score compared to them?
Because they work harder.
Yes. I think they get it into those spots easier, Jules. But what this data is telling us is that we still get to those spots. Regardless, the method obviously needs to improve. We're not discounting that. But we can't also discount the fact that we do get into those spots that could afford us 80-point games, but we're kicking 50 points. It's just this is some of this shit is just so regulation in front of goal. It's infuriating.
But Joe, it's actually all irrelevant if you do not have work ethic and intensity and a willingness to work for your teammate, because it all just be undone. When how many times have we seen teams come back? We're known for it, that teams could actually claw back a result against the Carlton Football Club. And what has changed? Fuck all.
Yeah,
That's what's changed. Absolutely nothing. Because no one has looked these players in the eye and told them that at this point in time, you're a bottom 4 team.
Well, put it this way, boys.
You know what we get? Oh, yeah, no, we're happy with most things, but there's just one element. No, there's not one element. There's fucking heaps of shit that's going wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, even in terms of like scoring, I know like we're sort of on the topic at the moment, so might as well speak about it. Just looking at the average goal scorers per side over the course of the season so far, up to around or matches 13. Some have 12, depending on obviously if they've had the bye and whatnot. We are third bottom.
For what, Jules?
Equal third bottom. Average
Four?
goal scorers. So the amount of goal scorers you have per game.
Yeah.
All right.
So
And
midfielders
we're
are
third bottom, but North Melbourne's second last on 6.2. So we're equal second last.
Yeah. So
West Coast has
West
Coast have 5.4. Obviously, it's based on averages. So 5.4 if you want to round it down, whatever you can. We're 6.2, same as North Melbourne. And Hawthorn, who's the next, is 6.8. So we're in that range. We're in with
Obviously
the
we
bottom
are, because
guys in terms of offense.
This is the thing. We could run through, I reckon, almost every stat in the book would be bottom 4, 5. Because have a look at our ladder position. Have a look at the way we play.
Yeah.
Have a look at the way these players go about it. They're a bottom 4 side across every single category. That's where they're at.
I think defensively we're actually held up all right, to be fair.
Other than points
Surprisingly.
against, we've actually done all right. But again, how much of that is due to the back 6 rather than the team defense? Because we're talking about how teams walk it out.
I agree with that.
But that's what I spoke about before, Joe, was the fact that there isn't a team defense and that the one-on-one, we're having to cope with repeat entry.
Yeah, it's rubbish.
Week on week, this back 6 have to cope with repeat entry. You know?
I know. And we're lucky to have a back 6 that's so solid, to be honest. Aaron Hamill, we've hammered Ash Hansen. Aaron Hamill deserves some sort of credit, really, as the backline coach.
If anything, allows us to be in games for longer probably than what we actually should.
Honestly. All right. Now, hopefully the technical difficulty. If the technical difficulties come up again for me, I don't know what we're gonna. I really don't know what we're gonna do. I don't know. I might just go watch it in the lounge. I'll just go. I'll chuck on YouTube in the lounge on the telly. I'll just watch you two go at it for the next hour. Whatever. Might even be a bit more relaxing for me.
No, we didn't mind it. El Capitano at the bottom. Just wait till I talk, yeah?
All right. All right.
Yeah, it cuts deep, Jules?
Hey, 360 feedback's 2 weeks away. Relax.
Hey, don't worry. Yeah, don't worry. I got it penciled in, Jules.
I gotta start thinking about my content.
Yeah. Now,
Joe's probably been thinking about it for the last year.
Before we get into Blues
Blows
Qs,
over it.
let's just break this up a little bit. 100th episode's coming up, 6 weeks away. We will still be doing this. We do it every week. We enjoy it. It's therapy for us, therapy for you guys. Now, we mentioned that maybe we'd do a live show in a studio with an audience. We're not going to do that. Jules and I had a discussion last night. Dan, it's majority rules, so 2 against 3, 2 against 1, bad luck. We haven't been a podcast.
Is that how this works?
You basically forced me to say yes.
We haven't been a podcast. We haven't been a podcast that has built this show off of guests and big guests and players and this and that over the years. So we're not going to start doing that. We're not a podcast that we're a review podcast. We're an emotional podcast. It is what it is. We've got a few listeners now, and it's been nice to see that grow along the journey. And we've never actually spoken to any of you. So for our 100th episode, we are doing a show where we'll be releasing this StreamYard link, this exact link for episode 100 to you guys that tune in each week to have a chat to us. It's your turn. There's only so much we can say. We would have said it for 99 weeks to that point. It's up to you. Episode 100's over to listeners, boys.
Have we got a banner? Are we running to a banner?
You can do one on your back wall there through the door. Get Lauren to make one for you. And run through with Charlie.
All right.
I want to see it with your
right.
speedos, but
some Blues
speedos. Yeah,
give the Speedos a run, actually.
let's just say they don't fit anymore.
I don't know. I don't know if that's YouTube guideline safe. Blues Q's off the Instagram first, and then obviously if you're watching live, leave your questions in the comments. This is the time. If you want us to answer anything, this is the time to get it in. Now, Sarah rates a lot of these are questions, a lot of these comments as well. Sarah rate, is the fire not there after potentially playing finals last year? Do they not want that? Probably not. From Old Dark Blues, Marcus Squatto. Go check out his YouTube and his Instagram. Pressure Point Boys. Do we start again? How does this change? Or a genuine embarrassment? And I think we've covered that. We don't know. Is it top end? Is it the clean out of the bottom end? Time will tell. Time will really tell. Have any players, Blues Corp, have any players improved this season outside of Kennedy and Chera? Probably not, to be honest. Maybe Charlie. But he's let us down the last couple of weeks. 2 goals 4 on Sunday just kills you. Especially when Peter Wright's up the other end kicking 5 straight. This is the thing.
First game back.
I know. Brandon Moon. Who do we get rid of for Harley Reid? Jules, you want to take this one?
Cripps.
Wow. It's probably going the first pick's obviously going to, well, not obviously going, but probably safe to say it's probably most likely going to West Coast. I mean, I don't really want to be one of the clubs that is searching for the number 1 pick, unless it's like a guarantee that this player is going to change the club, which really no number 1 pick does. So, at the end of the day, I'd be still going out to win every single match because that's the culture and sort of that we want to inject into the football club with high standards, and that's in every sense. So you can sort of get into the conversation, but I would like to see the club be bold in the off season. I would love to see some, I would say, big fish in the team traded out, maybe one, just to relinquish some cash and sort of keep the players on merit, and then see where we go from there. But I still think we need to get in a few players just to add some forward class.
Don't we know that number 1 picks don't guarantee anything? Jim Agio says 10 to 12 blokes need to be gone minimum at the end of the year. The club's on fire. He turned it off in the 3rd quarter. He's broken. There's a lot of those sort of comments. Anthony Vincenzo probably finished bottom 4. It's a tight competition, extra game. Probably need 8 to 9 wins to avoid bottom 4. We won't win 5 of the next 10. He didn't feel an inch of hate towards Essendon. And that's fair enough because he was too busy thinking about where it all went wrong. And I actually felt the same for the first time. It's the first Essendon game I've been at where I didn't really feel hatred towards them. I felt hatred towards my own club. It's just sad.
Did we not? The thing that I feel hatred towards is that 18 months ago, roughly, it was meant to be, with the external review, was meant to be the clean out of all these and the resolution to the issues of the previous, 4 or 5 years, boys? I look at it, the key elements to what was meant to be reviewed and had been completely bypassed.
You're right.
You're right. I know I am. It has been completely bypassed. The culture and the standards of the club and what the club stands for, winning games and winning premierships, not saying it, showing it. Showing it through action. Showing it through standards. And then the other thing is the accountability on players and making those hard decisions rather than putting these players in cotton wool and saying everything's going to be okay, like they have for 8 years. And that's why you have a playing group that don't lay or have laid 3 tackles in a quarter. That is the result of that.
Fair enough.
I don't know how many times I need to say it.
Massimo Costanzo, Jules. We sat next to him at the president's function last year. Remember him?
Yeah, I remember.
He said, how much do I have to pay you and Jules to take my President's Club ticket for next week? Couldn't pay me $1 million at this point. I'm not going next week. Yeah, there's just a lot of the same.
Josh here
Yes.
in the comments has written 100 times here. The 9-year rebuild being a failure success. Can we answer this and just say it's been a complete failure? Josh,
Complete failure.
I know you've posted it here. You've listened to my comments already. It's an absolute shit show. It has been. It was never going to be a success, mate, because the essence of what the foundations of the rebuild was on the wrong thing, and it wasn't based on winning. Hence why you see North Melbourne. There's a reason why Clarkson didn't take our job.
It's true. It's true.
There's a reason why Ross Lyon was.
Do we want to get to that discussion?
Ross Lyon was a little bit different, but there is a reason why Alistair Clarkson, who would have got a massive snapshot, okay, of what the club internally and the list and the playing and everything and the coaching staff that everyone talks about, and he said no, and he went to North Melbourne.
Do you think, I know we sort of spoke about it today and I was in our chat, but do you think that Alistair Clarkson would have looked at Carlton and he thought he wouldn't have had his way?
Yep. And he's got an overrated list.
And there would have been input from the club on various fronts.
Yep. Agree. And he had an overrated list of a handful of players and A graders that aren't good enough.
Yep.
That aren't good enough in the frame of time that we as supporters and the club want to see success.
I think it's both. Jules, I know where you're going, and I'm with you, because I think we've now seen this for a long enough period where and even Paddy Cripps' interview after the game is just robotic, and it's like anyone that walks into the club, anyone that's in a position within the club, becomes this robot. They become like controlled in the way that they speak or the way they act and the behaviors. And I know exactly where you're going with it, like with the board and the way that it's all run from the top down. I think you're right. I think if you're a coach like Ross Lyon or Alistair Clarkson that looks at Carlton and goes, I'm not going to be able to have my way and do what I want to do because I'm not going to get the support that I need from the top to be able to do that. I'm with you, Jules. 100%. 100%.
Yeah. And you look at the successful clubs, they sort of embrace each other's and each other's personalities and what they stand for.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
We don't. They're all cliche.
Yeah. Now there's a lot of questions around who do we get rid of, this and that. For the mid-season episode that we do in a couple of weeks, we'll go through some buy, sell, hold scenarios on each of the players on the playing list, and we'll try and come to a consensus on when we get to the end of the year. What does the list look like? I think that's a fair exercise at this point, because we're not playing finals. The season's dead. We don't know where we're going to finish. We could finish bottom four. We could finish 10th. Who knows? But the fact of the matter is we're not playing finals at this point. It's not going to happen. So we might as well start looking ahead like we usually do. We're used to it. The last couple from the Instagram, like I said, it's just more of the same. There's probably the last one here. Justin Instagram 44. We need a blue abroad spill of the board at the next AGM. Make it happen. I don't know about that. I don't think I'd be any good in a high pressure environment like that, to be honest. But anyway, we'll leave that for the big boys. No, look, I get it. Like there's a lot that I think everyone has to say about where we're at. And at the end of the day, I think Danny summed it up nicely at the start when he said there's too many issues to find an answer for at the moment. There really is. All right, we're getting into votes quickly, then Libby, and then a quick preview with ins and outs. Dan messaged me today and said, I've only got one player I want to give votes to, so you can start. Dan, we've all got him.
Cheers.
What?
Nearly our leading disposal getter. The only guy that, for me, actually looked like he cares. Actually looked like he put, and again, for me at this point, saying that someone has work ethic and intensity, but his ball use, the way he goes about his footy, is what we need 22 other players. And do you know why he's different? Because he didn't go through 8 years of the bullshit that someone like a Zach Fisher went through.
Yep.
That's why.
Yeah.
That's why Adam Chera has standards to his performance, and that's why from last year to this year, you've seen a monster improvement. Not like Zach Fisher, who I watched in the VFL and looked shit, and looked like he didn't care. I don't care how many disposals he gets.
Can I just say with Chera, I said it today to you boys. You look at Adelaide, they're bringing Jordan Dawson from a good culture at the Swans. They were obviously struggling at the time. He has a really good first year, and then they give him the captaincy in the second year. The way Chera's playing, he's the best player on our list from an on-field leadership perspective. If we're going to question Cripps' captaincy from next year forward, is Chera a genuine candidate at this point to take that role?
I mean, it's a difficult talking point, and I mean, it's not like as if I'm shying away from it. But I think on field he's doing everything and more. It's just whether off field in terms of whether he's up to having those hard conversations with people and bringing players to account and above too. In that regard,
that's what I was going to say.
Because we can talk about holding players to account as well, but is he willing to speak to the board? Is he willing to speak to coaches when things aren't going their way and saying, you know what happened a few weeks back in regard to Luke Sayers and the other board members, not to mention names, but I think everyone is aware of it. Obviously, been spoken about in the media, but are they speaking about, this isn't good enough? We don't stand for this. This shouldn't be happening. So you need to have those hard conversations. If you're a leader of the football club, being the captain, you need to have those tough conversations. You need to be able to conduct yourself in the right manner whilst doing it as well.
Jules, do you want to go through, you gave Paddy Dow a vote.
Yeah, so chair of the three, obvious reasons. Boyd, I really like his game. I think he adds a lot. There was one passage of play where he was able to hit the target outside of D50 and then got in the chain again across the half forward as well. I just feel with his leg speed and ball movement and foot skills, he's a great access and asset. And I can't wait to see more of him. I think he's a very, very good player.
He takes that kick, like he just takes that kick without hesitation every time.
Yeah, and hits it.
Yeah.
Most of them, and the thing is, like, players also need to understand their role. Boyd's role is to take those kicks. He's the kind of player that you want ball in hand. I'd be giving it to him. I think he only had like 13, 14 touches. If we can get him up to around 20, 25 range, I'm telling you right now, it'll really, really help with our ball movement. And then obviously Dow, sorry. I know. You know what? I want to go back because I'm just trying to process something in terms of getting the 20 to 25 range in relation to Boyd, those kinds of disposals. It's also where he does get those disposals. And it's really, really important that the coaches put something in place that he does receive those disposals in those positions as well to be able to actually have a good effect on the game. Okay. Yep. So it's both hand in hand. It's the players involved as well as the coaches, okay, in order to help Boyd, which in turn helps the team, okay? With Dow, I just felt as if his quarter was, I know it's only just obviously a small sample size, and I don't like going off small sample sizes, but he's done it 2 weeks in a row. Where on field, when he has been involved for a half or a quarter, he's been probably arguably our top 2-3 players in that short period of time, both with effort and even with ball use as well. I think he's, above 70, close to 70, 80% in both games. So he has to play next week, has to play.
Yeah, it's a fair assessment. I see Stuart McQuaid in the comments as well, the Blues Brothers quotes. It's very good from the Blues Brothers movie. I like it. I also see a couple in there having a crack around selective questions. Yeah, they are. I do select the questions. It's our podcast. Like, if you want to have a say in the 100th, come on the 100th episode, have a chat to us. More than happy. Stay in the comments for now. You'll get your chance. And no, I'm not a tyrant, and I will have a discussion around the coach, and we have had discussions around this coach and the coaching department and various issues across the last 20 episodes or whatever we've done this year in the last 94. So a bit of cleanup there. I had Jack Martin in my votes for one, and I don't think he'll be at the club next year, but I do want to just point out that he looked like our most dangerous forward at times in that second and third quarter. He didn't necessarily take all of his chances, but it was good to see him back out there. I thought he actually had probably more impact than anyone else in the first half for longer than 20 minutes at one stage. He looked dangerous. He looked like he was ready to break the game open. Probably a little bit of match fitness he needs to get under his belt to become that game breaker. I don't think he's going to get the chance. I don't think he'll be there. It is what it is. Boyd as well for the same reasons as Jules and Ches, because he's just been the best player all season for us. Votes leaderboard. Chera is streaming ahead now for the Almost Blues Brothers MVP in 2023. 34 votes, 10 ahead of Charlie. Got Walsh 10 behind that on 14. Cripper in 4th on 13. And Blake Acres still in top 5 on 11.
Joe,
All
put Arsenal till I die on quickly. The comment about we need a coach who'll put a rocket up their ass.
Yep.
Voss did last year.
Against Essendon, this game.
This game last year, he put an absolute rocket through all of them at 3/4 time. And the response from the playing group was, we don't cope well.
And we saw that because they only won 4 of their next, whatever it was, 11 after that.
That was a genuine Joe. Can you confirm?
I can. And since then, we haven't seen a rocket from Voss. And we've seen Voss go into a shell. And we've seen the players just completely off him. We saw it with Teague. I don't know if anyone remembers. Teague did it at the end of the 2020 season in the Brisbane game. He sent an absolute rocket up him at halftime. And all the talk was around that in Simo's last game was how poor Teague's attitude towards the playing group was. I remember it clearly.
I've been seeing a lot of videos of Ange Postecoglou going around.
Yep.
Halftime
He
team
loses
talks,
his mind.
Pre-game team talks. Now, if anyone hasn't seen them, and I'm talking high-pressure environments, Asian Cups, World Cups, obviously with Celtic in the Scottish Premier League, now Tottenham in the English Premier League, arguably one of the top 6 sides there. Go have a look at one of his team talks.
And Jules can attest to it because he's been in the rooms for one, and I can say that with certainty. Is that not right, Jules?
Oh, you don't want to be in front of him. I'll tell you that much.
No. All right, that's the end of the review. Libby's last word.
Hey everyone, it's Libby with Libby's last words, and this is what I thought about the game. Well, I'm disappointed. I'm very disappointed in the boys. I come down from Tassie to watch them play, thinking we might have a chance, but after that third quarter, the start of the fourth quarter, we just left the game. Like, if we kick 5 goals in 3 quarters, then we're not gonna come back up. We just knew. But by 34, it's disappointing. But at least Cincotta got a goal. It was actually a pretty good goal, I must say. Alex did an amazing goal. But we were just terrible with our contest. You know, our defense, Adam's side, I must say, he played amazing. Absolutely amazing. He's always trying hard out there. And special shout out to Adam's side. But, you know, Charlie, I just got to say, we missed too many easy goals. Especially in the first quarter. You know, we missed too many easy. We need to practice at shooting goals, I reckon. Because, you know, our mids are there and our defence is there kicking goals and not our forwards. But, I'm just really disappointed. You know, we're going to end up finishing bottom 4. Even last, second last. I reckon we're going to finish second last. You know, I remember saying at the start, we're going to make the finals. But we can all say now, Carlton are just shit. We're not going to make the finals. It's just disappointing. I'm going to throw my membership. Honestly, it's just getting annoying. 7 games in a row we've lost, and I still don't want to hear about it. But anyways, this is what I thought about a terrible game. Go the Blues!
Livy brought up a good point that I forgot to bring up. Jules, you saw it as well. I've never seen in my 28 years of following this game and going to games, I've never seen membership cards being thrown over the level 4 railing and being thrown on the ground. I stepped on 2 or 3 on the way out. I
even saw people throwing scarves, and I know my Zio as well, who was watching. He saw it as well. Scarves, beanies, and a lot. So I think it's difficult times for a lot of Carlton supporters, that's for sure.
Ash Hansen said they don't listen to external noise.
Probably should start.
Listening.
Probably should.
Start
should.
listening and getting a reality check as to where your supporters and what other people are saying about you, and start to build from it, because it's a shit show. So you know what? Start listening to external noise, because you're in fairy tale land in the four walls of Carlton Football Club.
Well, the thing that I hate about labeling us as external noise is it does it not paint a perfect picture of what this club, of the disconnect between the club and the members. Like, how are we external noise? Like, we the members of the football club and the supporters of the football club are like, we're the ones that hold the place up financially. Without us, there's no club, unless you get private investors, which just isn't like it's like we're external noise. We're internal noise, mate. 90,000 are the noise that keeps you afloat every week.
No, because you have to protect them, Joe. You have to protect them.
Yeah, I mean, we should be a reflection of each other at the end of the day.
In what
That's
sense?
the way I see it.
Oh, the fans and the club should be a reflection of each other.
Yeah, it should be a reflection of each other. When when the team's going well, when we're going, and so forth. That's what it should be. Our attitude reflects how the team's performing and the club's performing as a whole.
You look, I'm telling you right now, if those membership numbers drop, I'm telling you right now, there'll be a shift in the way this club treats its supporters. I'm telling you. They have not felt anything like it, because every year we keep turning up to go, this is the year. This is the year. This is the year. We've stuck fat with this team for that long to see absolutely nothing. Joe, you had a graph last week to show we've gone nowhere.
And since I showed that graph, we've gone even further backwards, just quietly.
The frustration that we're showing even tonight isn't even half. Joe, explain the conversation I had to you when I called you after the game.
Well, I wouldn't call it a conversation when it's one-sided, then.
All right, the rant.
You know what, boys? You know what? This Sunday, it's all right. We're making salami, boys.
I am.
I wouldn't call it a conversation when it's Dan screaming down the phone in my ear for 10 minutes.
I was down Swan Street, Jules, and everyone was looking at me, and I was talking to Joe on loudspeaker and spitting on the phone, yelling. I was done.
I felt the spit in my ear. I felt it transfer. No, Jules, you're right. We are making salami on Sunday. We're not going to be there. It's a good excuse to not go on Sunday, unfortunately.
Joe purposely changed the Saturday to the Sunday because of it.
I don't want to be tempted to go. I really don't. This is a genuine excuse that we've got, so might as well use it. But for anyone that is thinking of going, Sunday, MCG, 145, I believe, or 110 at the G against the Suns. Who cares?
Watch it from the TV inside the ground at the bar.
Watch it on your TV at home. And you know what? If anyone wants to come make salami, I'll open the invite. You tell us.
Yeah, come. Don't even do that. Watch it on your phone on KO and just have it there while you're
going to have 100 people making salami.
We do have to preview this somewhat. We'll take 5 minutes to do this, and then we'll wish everyone a good night, and you can all go to bed. What's the... you can see where we're at. Tonight has been a show that I don't think we've ever done. We are just like, there's no structure to this. This is proper. Like, you go back to episode 2.
Your Wi-Fi cut out. How can it be structure when you can't get the basic? It's Carlton Football Club. You can't get the basic fundamentals of what can build the foundations of a podcast, which is
Wi-Fi. It's a genuine disease, this Carlton Football Club. I'll tell you that much.
That's the state of it. All right. Preview. So we've got the Suns. What are the dangers here? Their midfield works extremely hard. Witts is a premier ruckman, so I can see us getting back down to the middle. Yeah.
Matt Rouse.
Their defense.
Bailey Humphrey, really good. He's killing it at the moment.
Noah Anderson, unbelievable.
Yeah.
That bit of Silk as well, the Kosciusz and the like.
Yeah. Ben King's flying. Yeah.
Headaches up forward. Yep. So Levi Casbolt will probably kick 3 or 4 as well. Revenge game. Ben King, Jack Kosciusz, they'll get on the board. Ben Ainsworth pops up for a goal. Put him in your multi if you've got a multi.
Yeah. Joel Jeffrey's a good one to chuck in there as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So what we're basically saying is, regardless of, we're going to go through ins and outs, but regardless of the team that we put on the park, if we keep playing the way that we're playing, they'll probably slap us by about 40, I reckon, on Sunday. That's how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Because they work hard. That's why. They work hard. Their midfield works hard. They've got a great ruckman. They've got midfielders at his feet that want the ball first, and they get the ball forward to their big boppers.
I genuinely think the only positive about the game is that it's here.
Yeah,
Not
true.
even. Not
But
even.
even then.
Oh,
Look, we
even
might
then,
win.
Oh,
We might.
God, Joe. End the podcast now, please. The guy's
We've got to-
delirious.
We're going to win one eventually. No, I'm not saying that we will. I'll wait for my. I've just given my prediction. I think we're going to lose by 30 or 40. I think the Suns are genuinely on the hunt for a final spot.
Look what I've done,
They'll
Jules.
blood in the water. Go, take your ins and outs, and let's get out of here. Come on, let's go.
Go, George.
Mine. Didn't I bin Young as well? I thought I did.
Nah.
No,
I thought I did, man.
no. Do not question my graphics.
I liked it better when the players are involved, the actual faces. All right,
Never
so
did
I
that.
won't
That's
bin
when
Young.
Joe
I
gave
thought
a
I
shit.
did, to be honest with you. I thought I did bin Young. Apologies. Because that's why I had 4 ins.
No, because you said Fisher was sub.
I'm going to double check that in the message. I think.
Hurry
Check
up.
it.
Come on. All right, we're moving on.
Go
Dan.
in for TDK. TDK, for me, doesn't give us any form of first use whatsoever. Apparently, he is better around the ground, probably marginally. I didn't see it on the weekend. Apparently, he takes marks around the ground. I think he only took 1. I could be wrong.
2.
Or 2.
I keep
2 around
getting
the ground.
told. I keep getting told on socials that Pitternet's not a good ruckman because he doesn't take marks around the ground. TDK hasn't taken more than 2 marks since he's been in this side, since he's come back in.
Yeah, so there you go. For me, Peter has to play. He's our number 1 ruck. Yeah, I don't see TDK playing unless he gets his act together, to be fair. Cunners, I just think he's going to be able to add a bit of mobility inside as well. And obviously pinch hit inside the forward line as well. That's why I got rid of Motlop. For me, Motlop hasn't done anything for a very long time. He hasn't even applied pressure. Ed Sealadder as well. To be fair, I know it's harsh, but I don't want to see him in the side again. I know he's been a great servant at the club, but at the end of the day, I don't see him around next year, and I don't see him being in our best 22 even at this stage anyway. All right, so for him, see you later. Bins to play in the 22. I feel like if he's earned it, I think he was close this week, to be fair, if another player did go out because he didn't play in the VFL unless he was injured. But I didn't hear that was the case anyway. So I'd love Bins to get his opportunity. I know he has been pretty poor in terms of his efficiency, but I think he provides a lot of run, a lot of dash, and I think he's going to be a good player for the future. So I want to see him. I think he's earned it. And then Fish as well. I think he should be the sub. I reckon you got it wrong, man. I said Dow in as well. You got it wrong.
I think you might have had Dow in. That's one that I missed. Dan, you had the same ins as Jules?
No, I didn't. Got Young. Oh, sorry, ins. Yeah, ins
Bloke.
was yeah.
Bloke. Can I read this?
Go.
I said ins, Pedo for TDK, Cunners for Motlop, Bins for Ed
Pedo?
Dow for Young.
Sorry, pedo.
Pedo. Pedo for TDK, Cunners for Motlop, Bins for Kerno, Dow for Young, and then sub Fisher. That's what's said here.
Dan's left. What's going on in this
One,
podcast?
Sweet. That's what I've generally written down here, man. Get it right, man. You got one roll.
We have, yeah. Sorry, tonight's been a shit show.
You were out for 5 minutes, and then you got my selections wrong. You got to
just. Sometimes you just got to put your hand up. I got this wrong tonight. Really wrong. really, really wrong. Dan, I don't know. You've left, so I'll just do my ends, and then we'll get going. Mott's, TDK, Ed, Louis. I had as well as all out. I've also got Cripps out. I think he needs a genuine rest for like 2 or 3 weeks. I think he said in the post game that he's playing with a few corkies. If you're injured, just sit out. There's no point at this point because you're offering nothing. You laid 2 tackles on the weekend. You had 19 touches. It's not like you're playing with corkies and setting the world on fire. Paddy Dow to come in to start. Cunners, I called for it last week. He had a ripping game in the VFL. Should just brought him straight back in, inject him into the middle. He needs to come in this week. If George Hewitt is good to go, bring him in for Cripps. Pitto, if he's good to go, bring him for TDK. And I think Fogarty has earned a crack. I know he's been playing in the middle, but, if Motts is making way, get him to play off the half forward, see what he can do. I don't like doing that usually, but there's only so many that you can play out of the middle in this current squad. Predictions, boys. Anyone? Does anyone want to speak?
Don't worry about it.
Just say it.
Gold Coast by 25.
Jules.
Gold Coast by 10.
Leave your predictions in the comments as we wrap this up. I already said Gold Coast by 30 or 40. I genuinely think that. I'm glad that we're doing salami on Sunday, so we've got an excuse not to go. Let's hope we're wrong for the first time this year. Let's hope we're wrong. And that we actually somehow pull a win out going into the bye and maybe just offer a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel again. But even then, that might even be the worst thing that we could hope for at this point. Maybe we just need to lose every game and just realize how poor we actually are. Anyway, it's been some sort of a night, everyone. For the 180 people still watching us, thank you. You've toughed it out. For Dan and Jules, thank you for toughing it out while I had my weekly technological issues at this point with my Wi-Fi. And whatever. I'm not even going to say. I'm not saying it this week. I'm not saying up the baggers. I'm not doing it. If you guys want to do it, you can do it. But if not, enjoy your night, everyone.
See you guys.
See you guys. Thanks
for your week. Find something other than footy. Find another hobby this week. That should be everyone's objective. Just find something else that makes you happy because this club is not going to make us happy for a long time. Fair?
And walk every day. What about that? Everyone do 10,000 steps. It's good for you.
12,000.
Get your 30 minutes of exercise in a day. Get your 5 fruits. Get your 5 vegetables in.
Go to the gym.
Live a healthy life, boys.
Go eat crepes tonight.
Pick up rock climbing. I don't know, whatever. Go for a surf. Even if you've never surfed, just go grab a surfboard and surf. Do something. Do something that's going to challenge you and bring you some happiness because this club ain't doing it. Plain and simple.
Oh, hey, my dad actually was watching the Ashes yesterday. I got around that.
Oh,
yeah, I'm
GT87.
The Ashes boy.
See you later, everyone. We're done.
There you go.